Hello and welcome to Friday's Granada Reports. We are live with the latest across the Northwest.
Hello on the programme this evening.
Things need to change and we've made a start with that, and I think 48 years, if you think of picking up a gun now, you should think twice about it.
48 years behind bars for the killer of Ellie Edwards, some small consolation for her family. For Connor Chapman, the small-time gangster who shot her, stinging words from the judge at Liverpool Crown Court.
You carefully planned a revenge attack in gang rivalry. You had no thought at all for anyone else, least of all to innocent people.
We're live in Liverpool with reaction to that case.
Also tonight, 25 years old and all to live for, but Ben died of a heart condition he never knew he had. Now his family are campaigning in his name.
Tipped for relegation, but flying high in Super League, how the Leopards are roaring in League.
And not a split end in sight. The salon that's so good, it's got into the Hairdressing Hall of Fame.
So please do stay with us. But first tonight, the life sentence handed down to the man who, without any care for human life, opened fire with a submachine gun outside a pub in Merseyside on Christmas Eve, killing 26-year-old Ellie Edwards.
Connor Chapman was in the dock at Liverpool Crown Court as the judge jailed him for a minimum of 48 years. Chapman was told what he did was as wicked as it was shocking.
Our Merseyside correspondent Andy Bonner's at Liverpool Crown Court. Andy, Ellie's family were there yesterday to see Chapman found guilty. They were back again today.
Yeah, they were back, Gamal, and it has to be said, looking far stronger than they have done ever before, returning to the place where they have watched this trial play out over the last 4 weeks. A brutal ordeal for them, but today they watched as a judge said that Connor Chapman would not only be serving 3 life sentences at the same time, but also that it would be 48 years before he can apply for release. A crowd gathered here in Derby Square in front of the court this afternoon, and there was applause as Ellie's family came out from court. And again, Ellie's dad, Tim, had strong support as he gave his response.
Thankfully now he's got 48 years and hopefully he never sees Christmas again. If I'm lucky enough to still be around for a long time, yeah, I would do my best to make sure he never comes out of jail. It needs to be, things need to change, and we've made a start with that, and I think the 48 years, if you think of picking up a gun now, you should think twice about it.
In his sentencing, Mr. Justice Goose called Chapman a highly dangerous man. He said how he burst forward from a hidden position, firing the submachine gun and killing Ellie instantly. She was one of 6 people, he said, who just happened to be standing outside that pub.
I'm satisfied that you are a highly dangerous man. In this trial, we have all watched the CCTV and sound recording of that shooting. It's utterly shocking. You carefully planned a revenge attack in gang rivalry. You had no thought at all for anyone else, least of all to innocent people. The risk of all 6 being murdered by you was as substantial as it was obvious, but you didn't care.
Heartbreaking statements were read out by members of Ellie's family in court, amongst them one from her grandmother, Sue, who she described as Ellie as her best friend. She wrote, "If I would die tomorrow, the coroner would write on my certificate, she died of a broken heart. I miss my angel princess so much." Well, this trial followed a major police investigation, searching through hundreds of CCTV videos, looking at witness statements, setting up multiple crime scenes to find crucial evidence.
No sentence, however long, can change what Chapman did, but I hope that knowing he has been brought to justice and is off our streets brings some small amount of comfort. I hope that it serves as a deterrent to anybody considering picking up or using a gun.
Chapman's co-accused Thomas Waring from Barnstone was jailed for 9 years this afternoon for his part in this. He was found guilty of helping him after the murder. The court heard 23-year-old Chapman is a father of two now, having a second child born while he's been in custody. The judge said that his children would be middle-aged and he would be an old man before he could be considered for parole.
OK, Andy at Liverpool Crown Court, thank you.
Well, as Andy said there, at least Conor Chapman appeared in court to be sentenced and to hear those very powerful victim impact statements from the family of Ellie Edwards.
But as we reported only a few months ago, another murderer, Thomas Cashman, refused to leave his prison cell as he was sentenced to 42 years for killing 9-year-old Olivia Pratt Corbell.
Well, tonight we can show you some new video of Olivia given to ITV News by her mum. Olivia was shot dead by Cashman, who chased another man into her home in the Dovecot area of Liverpool.
Hey guys, it's me, Olivia, and today I'm going to make a cocktail. I've already got a straw, and I've got a cocktail. Basically, it's a kid's cocktail.
Olivia's mother, Cheryl, is now renewing her call to the government to stick to its word and pass a law forcing convicted felons to appear in court for sentencing. This is what she's had to say.
It's a life sentence for us as a family. So you never get closure. And then for him not to turn up was more of a punch in the stomach.
He'd been found guilty, and I think it was a bit of, I don't know, it's like he still had that bit of power, he still had that control.
Doing the impact statement, I was hoping that it would touch his heart. But obviously hasn't got one. And otherwise he'd have been in that dock.
Olivia's mum speaking to us earlier, and of course we'll keep you up to date on any developments on this case. The government says it is committed to changing the law. We'll see what happens. There's more on that story in the ITV News straight after us.
Well, next, and when we're young, we often feel like we're immune from health problems. But sadly, as we know, that's not always the case.
Yeah, Ben Peters from Cheadle was 25. After going to hospital with chest pains, he was told he was probably suffering from anxiety. The following morning, he was dead.
Ben was a keen footballer and a Manchester City fan. It later emerged he had an undiagnosed heart condition which caused a tear in his aorta, a major artery.
The latest figures we have show 1 in 300 people between 14 and 35 will have a potentially life-threatening heart condition. 1 in 100 will have a condition which presents as potentially dangerous in their 40s or 50s.
Well, tomorrow, Ben's family and friends will gather for a football match to raise money for a charity that helps screen young people for heart problems. Our reporter Andrew Fletcher went to meet them.
At 25, Ben Peters had his whole life ahead of him. A newly qualified solicitor, he had a big group of friends and a passion for music and football. Last November, he went to A&E with chest pains. When his tests came back clear, doctors diagnosed him with anxiety and discharged him. He went to stay the night with his parents. The next morning, they found him dead.
Dad sort of woke up very early in the morning, still see that the living room light was on, and Ben had sort of fallen asleep on the sofa but was unresponsive, and that's where Dad found him, passed away really.
Ben had died from an aortic dissection, a tear on his heart that expanded and severed, causing sudden death. Ben was predisposed to the condition, which can be hereditary and is detectable with an MRI scan. After testing, Ben's dad was found to have the same vulnerability. He's now had open heart surgery to remove the risk.
Obviously Ben never had that testing, but in a way it's nice to know that because of Ben's passing that we've all managed to get our own lives saved and checked over and know that we're all going to be okay. And it's nice to know as well that other families will do the same. You'd like to hope.
Yeah, and you know, it could have been the other way around, and you know, Ben could have lost a dad, could have lost an uncle.
Ben's relatives are now doing all they can to stop any other family being affected by the tragedy that hit theirs. They've organised a charity football match for Cheadle Atlas, the team that Ben and Mike ran together. They hope to raise awareness and funds for CRY, the Cardiac Risk in the Young Foundation.
It's been really lovely to have this WhatsApp group where we're all planning things, and you know that everyone in there really loves Ben. And I think as well he'd be so proud that everyone that loves him has come together.
He had such different groups of friends, but there were so many of them, and to see how close it's brought all of them together as well, it's been really lovely for us to sit back and watch it, but also be a part of organising it.
So you now want to raise awareness of the risk of congenital heart disease and just to make sure people get checked out.
Yeah, precisely, and just wanting to make sure that what's happened to our family, doesn't happen to others, and even if this interview saves, 1 or 2 more lives, then it's all completely worth it.
Andrew Fletcher, ITV News in Manchester.
Yeah, such a sad story. Thanks very much to Ben's family for telling us about it, and also about telling us about Ben himself. He'll clearly be so terribly missed.
Yeah, certainly. Well, I spoke to Dr. Steve Cox, who's the chief executive of the charity CRY, which stands for Cardiac Risk in the Young. I asked him about the charity football match for Ben tomorrow and where the money raised would end up being spent.
The work from families throughout the UK to raise funds like Ben's family will go back into the community. It will help to raise those funds to enable other young people to have the opportunity to have their heart screened. It also helps to raise awareness, because by talking about this, it makes people aware that there are conditions which can affect young people. But also, really importantly, it also helps with research, and CRY is driving forward research in this area because we don't have all the answers. And indeed, we're even doing some screening which is trying to look for these early signs of a potential aortic rupture by doing a specific type of screening, some research around that at the moment. So it's really important to do research, to raise awareness, but also to enable young people to be screened. Currently, it's only really in elite athletes that this is offered, but CRY wants every young person from the age of 14 to 35 to be screened, and tens of thousands are doing this by registering on our website every year.
So that fundraising could be vital to saving lives.
CRY will test more than 25,000 people this year, and that's only because of families raising the funds in their local communities to offer these services in those communities, often to the people who knew Ben or other families where there have been sudden deaths, where there's a really heightened awareness, and it gives them the opportunity to have that screening. It's free of charge, because of families, friends, communities who raise those funds to enable us to offer that screening to communities throughout the entire UK.
And what are the classic symptoms of someone living with an undiagnosed heart condition? Is it possible to say?
There are the red flag symptoms, which is exercise-related chest pain, or passing out during exercise. But there are also some arbitrary symptoms like palpitations, dizziness, breathlessness. Now, it's very easy for these symptoms to be dismissed as something like anxiety or other reasons. And that's why it's very hard for the medical professionals to pick up on these subtler conditions. And that's why CRY wants every young person to at least have an ECG, because that's a very powerful measure, whereas some of these symptoms are just so easy to dismiss. They're so common, really. So many people have them.
And what's your advice to anybody who's watching this now who's thinking, that's me, I'm getting those pains when I'm exercising?
I think if you're having pains when exercising, chest pains, you should contact CRY, and we will help advise it for a referral to a cardiologist where this can be investigated. But if you're asymptomatic and you just want to be screened, asymptomatic and you don't have any symptoms, then just go to the testmyheart.org.uk website and register to be screened. We do have a large waiting list still coming out of the pandemic, so be patient, and at some point we'll be in your community.
It could be any of us, couldn't it? So these are vitally important messages. Steve Cox from CRY, Cardiac Risk in the Young, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
And there's more information about that match for Ben Peters and the charity CRY on our website. That's itv.com/Granada.
Some more of the day's news now, and the Ashton-under-Lyne MP Angela Rayner has revealed her teenage children need escorting to and from school after they received death threats. In a TV interview, the Deputy Labour leader also said concerns about her own safety has led to her restricting her social life.
EasyJet passengers heading for Liverpool ended up having an extra day in the sunshine after their pilot asked them to get off the flight due to it being too heavy.
The heavy aircraft combined with a fairly short runway here in Lanzarote and some winds which aren't particularly favourable at the moment mean that with the current environmental conditions here in Lanzarote, the aircraft is too heavy at the moment to depart.
The flight from Lanzarote was delayed because of the plane's weight and adverse weather conditions. EasyJet confirmed that 19 passengers volunteered to get off.
Oh, goodness me, it's a tough life. One more day on holiday instead of coming back to Blighty.
Never mind,
My heart bleeds. Not.
Time for sport now, and some worrying news about Manchester United legend, Mike.
Yeah, that's right. Some really concerning news coming out of the Netherlands in the last hour. Former Manchester United goalkeeper Edwin van der Sar is this evening in intensive care with bleeding around his brain. The 52-year-old is in a stable condition, according to Dutch club Ajax. Van der Sar is a popular figure at Old Trafford, having won the Champions League and 4 Premier League titles with United. The whole football world wishing him well tonight. Well, to the rest of the day's sports news, and Stockport's Liam Brodie is in action in the 3rd round of Wimbledon. He's at the bottom of your screen, ranked 142nd in the world. Yesterday, he knocked out 4th seed Casper Ruud on centre court. This afternoon, he's on court number 2, where he's facing 26th seed Denis Shapovalov of Canada. It is currently 1-all. To the Tour de France, where Mark Cavendish came within a whisker of a record-breaking 35th stage win. Today was stage 7 of this year's Tour, and the Isle of Man hero looked like he was going to do it in the closing moments in Bordeaux, leading with just metres to go. But as you'll see, he was chased down on the line by Belgium's Jasper Philipsen. Cavendish remains locked on 34 stage wins with Eddy Merckx. Well, next to rugby league, and one of the big sporting success stories of the year so far, the rise of the Lee Leopards. Newly named and newly promoted to Super League this season, the Leopards have made an incredible impact. With 17 games gone, they are sitting 2nd in the table. Chris Hall spent the day with them.
The Leopards are roaring. Defeated just once in their last 11 games, last year's Championship champions are this year's Super League surprise, just months after being tipped for relegation.
The last 7-8 years of Super League, the team that's been promoted has been automatically relegated. So there's some reason behind that. I think at the start of the season, if that was, say, with 10 games to go, you'd be sitting 2nd and 80 minutes away from Wembley. You sort of have to pinch yourself. But you know, I think we've still got a couple of levels to improve in all areas, so that's exciting for us.
They're still chasing the Dragons, but the Leopards wouldn't change their spot in the table. Lording it over their neighbours is a decades-old dream.
For the town, it's great. They've been through the mill over the last probably 7-8 years in terms of, you know, the promotion and then the relegation, promotion, relegation. You know, it's safe to say now we don't have to look underneath us, behind us. Fingers crossed, come the end of the year, we give ourselves a really good chance to be involved in some really big games.
Like their first Challenge Cup semi-final in 36 years and possibly a first ever grand final at Old Trafford. Lee's 3 previous visits to Super League all ended in relegation, but there's a different feeling this time around. Not only is the R word not getting mentioned, but there's a genuine belief here that this team could just be the best in the whole competition. So what's changed? Well, in the past, waiting till they'd secured promotion before making new signings left them months behind their Super League rivals, with all the best players snapped up. So last year they gambled on recruiting months before promotion, a huge financial risk for their owner.
So there was an exposure of $2 million if we hadn't have got up. It didn't come without a lot of nerve, and by the end the fingernails were knuckles. You know, we did the treble last year, it was fantastic, but we're doing it at the level where I've always wanted this club to be. You know, what it does for this town, it's massive, it's all we've got, it's what we have, it's our DNA, our rugby team, and at the minute everybody's smiling and probably no one more than me.
Now his rebranded club's match days are the envy of all, with fireworks, music and lots of leopard print.
It's good, isn't it?
You know, people probably didn't like the name change and the way that Derek were going, but he said that people will buy into it, and everywhere you see now, everyone's buying leopard print bucket hats. There's people coming in full leopard print outfits. When I was in Catalan last week, there was a lot of lads in like two-piece copying Derek, so people are buying into it.
They're buying into the team too. They play tonight at Castleford Tigers, but the Leopards are the biggest cats in town. Chris Hall, ITV News, Lee.
Well, elsewhere in Super League tonight, Warrington Wolves take on St Helens at the Halliwell Jones Stadium, and Wigan Warriors head to Wakefield. Well, it's a big sporting day in the region. Lancashire's cricketers are competing for a place in next weekend's Vitality Blast Finals Day. In around 10 minutes' time, their quarter-final against Surrey gets underway at Old Trafford. Lancashire Lightning boast a 21-game unbeaten home run in this competition, stretching back to 2020. Beaten finalists last year, they are desperate to get back to Edgbaston.
We've been there quite a few times, and yeah, unfortunately only won it once, so hopefully we want to add to that. But it's a great day, a great occasion. Edgbaston's a great ground when it's full, and obviously you got 4 teams there all rooting for each other, and it's a great day, and hopefully we can get there.
And finally, it's congratulations to a good friend of Granada Reports. Liverpool's para table tennis champion Jack Hunter-Spivey was a guest reporter on this programme earlier this year. Already the Commonwealth champion, Jack's warming up for the Paralympics next year, and it is going well. He's just been crowned US Open champion over in Texas. From all of us, Jack, well done. That is your sport tonight.
Yeah, brilliant. Well done, Jack. Well, next, it is nearly the weekend, so we're going to get our hair done. Who doesn't love a trip to the hairdressers?
I go to the barbers, so not me. But this next place isn't just any old hairdressers. The Saks Salon in Chester is so good, it's just been inaugurated into the British Hairdressing Hall of Fame at their recent Industry Awards.
Well, our entertainment correspondent, Caroline Whitmore, who else, went to Chester to see what makes them a cut above.
Well, we're about to visit possibly the best hairdressing salon in the land, as they have won 3 awards on the run. That's a hairdressing hat trick. Nicole Hughes, you have won 3 awards on the run. How proud are you? Congratulations.
Absolutely over the moon, to be fair. Yeah, it's brilliant. They were the British Hairdressing Business Awards, but actually within the last year, I think we've racked up something like 6 or 7 awards across the industry. So we are, I am sort of at the pinnacle of where I'd love to be at the moment.
You have been inducted into the Hairdressers Hall of Fame. Tell us what that even means, because it sounds very fancy.
It's basically what every hairdresser aspires to be. It's the biggest accolade in the whole of the industry, and it's recognising the expertise and put me in there so that my name will last forever in the hairdressing journals. At the ripe old age of 15, I started as a young apprentice with Andrew Collins, and the reason why I chose Andrew at the time, he'd gone into the Hall of Fame, and I wanted to work for the best. It inspired me to want to be the best, and that's what I now want to deliver to my team and inspire other young individuals to be as successful.
She's really a good inspiration to have. She's definitely a good role model to what I want to be like, and she's very supportive, and she is quite strict sometimes when she's teaching you, but it creates a higher standard that you want to work at.
You've been on The Apprentice, haven't you?
Yeah, so last year, back in July, we recorded for The Apprentice that got aired at the start of this year. So I was an industry expert. I was invited to go and basically help Lord Sugar.
The hairdressing chat at the moment, is it still where are you going on your holiday?
Yeah, it is, to be fair. Yeah, it is. Holidays are always a good point, to be fair, even in winter.
Do you ever run out of questions?
No, never. Never, ever, ever.
Danielle, well, you may be here in a salon in Chester, but your job takes you all around the world, doesn't it?
Just got back from Paris doing the couture for Tamara Ralph.
As you do.
As you do, I know. Nick really pushes me out my comfort zone, and it's just so inspiring.
Chester or Paris, then?
It's nice to be home.
Give you a really textured haircut, and she's fabulous at doing that.
How much has she paid you?
It's just really welcoming. I really like the people here.
How can you still look that good with foils in?
What is the secret of your success? What is the root of it? Passion, drive, and never giving up.
Hairdressing Hall of Fame, you smashed it.
Thank you.
Many congratulations to Nicola and her team in Chester.
Yeah, I think I might have to take a trip there myself.
We also want to say a very well done to Melissa Timperley Salons in Manchester's Northern Quarter. They won 2 prizes at those British Hairdressing Business Awards 2023, including the coveted Salon Team of the Year. So very well done to them.
Yeah, well done indeed. Now, is there anything hair-raising in the weather forecast? Here's Chris.
Have you burnt tea again?
I'm scraping the cooled oil into the bin, not the sink.
Can we eat outside? It's nice.
United Utilities sponsors ITV Granada weather.
Hello there. Very good evening to you. There's been some welcome sunshine across the region through today, just some patchy amounts of cloud here and there. While we've seen the sunshine too, we've seen temperatures respond in the mid-20s for most of us. As we look towards the weekend, we're still going to continue the story of some sunny spells, but the risk of some heavy and torrential thunderstorms during much of Saturday, and we still have the humid air in place on Saturday too before those thunderstorms clear through to bring something a little fresher. This is the main focus for those thundery showers as we go through much of Saturday. A large amount of water falling in a very short space of time. There's a yellow weather warning in force for that. We could see some gusty winds and some hail in those showers as well. Tonight, though, it's the calm before the storm. There'll be some sunshine to end today. A rather humid night to come, though. Temperatures not much lower tonight than around 17 to 20 degrees Celsius, and they don't drop below 20 degrees. We class that as a tropical night. A sticky old start to Saturday. Yes, there'll be some sunshine, but the risk of those thunderstorms develop fairly quickly as we go through mid-morning and into the afternoon. A very narrow band, but very intense thundery downpours. We could be seeing near enough 2 inches of rainfall falling in just under half an hour or so. Temperatures into the mid-20s, but you'll notice something fresher already diving in across the Isle of Man there, with highs here about 18 to 19 degrees. As we leave Saturday and go into Sunday, the showers push their way north and eastwards. We continue the risk of showers through Sunday, still with some sunny spells, but I suspect, yes, it will feel that much fresher. So the risk of some rather heavy thunderstorms through much of Saturday. There's a yellow weather warning in force for that. The showers still with us on Sunday and into next week, but just not as lively. Pollen's next.
It's a little bit burnt.
United Utilities sponsors ITV Granada weather.
Hello, summer. Piri sponsors ITV Pollen Count.
And as for that all-important pollen forecast, pollen levels will fluctuate between high and moderate as we go through the coming few days, dropping down to moderate, of course, where we see any heavy torrential downpours. Take care.
Cal's report on those very talented hairdressers who've won awards got me thinking, what is the craziest hair you've ever had?
I went through a pink streak stage.
Yeah, like it?
When I went through my emo stage, you know. What about you?
Well, back in the day, many moons ago, I had lots of twists in my hair and a bandana.
Nice.
We'll see you next week.
See you later.
Bye-bye.
Bye.